So I was watching Wooden Potatoes earlier. If you don't know him, he is a Guild Wars 2 YouTuber. He's fucking phenomenal. I was about to say that we make similar content, but we really don't. I mean, my content is a lot more kind of low quality, but we do have kind of rambly sort of styles, I would say. Except Wooden Potatoes is way more like mature, and he just doesn't do the immature shit that I do. Like, we're just complete opposites in that aspect. And obviously, I have nowhere even close to like the size and everything, and even the video count on Guild Wars 2, and just the sheer experience that he has. So he's definitely my favorite Guild Wars 2 YouTuber. He has a absolute shitload of videos, man. If you really want to just, watch a ton of Guild Wars content, including Guild Wars 1, he is truly one of the OGs, and I think he might even be the longest YouTuber still making Guild Wars content that's been at the game. So yeah, really awesome videos he makes, and he actually got back to making daily videos recently, which has been an absolute treat to watch. Or I don't know if it's daily or semi-daily or whatever, I don't know, but he does a lot of videos, and it's just really fun to watch. And yeah, so I highly recommend checking him out. But he did a video, I kind of forget exactly what it was called, but he had an idea that I thought was great. And apparently he worked with another guy on this idea a while ago, maybe like a year ago, and it sort of popped up in his mind again. So I made a video on why I was worried about the expansions going forward, and how I am really worried about really cool sandbox stuff. Because to me, having these new sandbox items, new toys to play around with that are truly actually meaningful, unlike what we see with the mastery system, is incredibly important. The reason why it's incredibly important, to me at least, is because it makes the whole game different. With an expansion with Guild Wars style, right? So if we didn't have those kind of sandbox sort of stuff, usually the game really only would feel different within those sort of expansion zones, right? Where if we got some new sandbox stuff, and what I love is the elite specs, right? Then that changes the entire game. Like when I'm going to the core areas, any other expansions, stuff like that, it reminds me a lot of mounts, and that it just changes the entire game. And so yeah, that's why Path to Fire is probably the best expansion, man. It gave us mounts and elite specs. That's fucking insane. But yeah, that's a whole nother video in itself. But the idea that Wooden Potatoes and the other person came up with is that we could basically do an elite spec style system with the core specs of the game, right? I don't think he mentioned enhancing the elite specs even further. I think it was kind of ascending. The whole idea was ascending core specs to sort of be like a sort of core elite spec that we wanted for a while, or at least I wanted for a while. I don't really know if much of the communities wanted that kind of thing, but I would really like that. And this would essentially allow us to get these elite spec style systems without all of the without as much effort, not even close as much effort as what I would think they'd have to do usually. And this means that we wouldn't be seeing any new utility skills, heal skill, elite skill. And I think Wooden Potatoes was very right in his video. The vast majority of those just feel completely pointless. I mean, how many new heal skills could we possibly have, right? And I think he's totally right on that. I feel like a lot of the skills that get added kind of feel the same. Like when I look at Exploding Spores on Untamed, right? And I compare that to Frost Trap, they feel relatively similar, honestly. They're just ground AoEs that do damage, but Exploding Spores has a slightly different effect and knockdown and all that. But honestly, man, they kind of feel the same to me. So I'm just kind of looking at it like, do we really need any more utility skills on the Ranger, and even the other classes in general? No, I could definitely see, I would like some rebalancing of stuff, right? Like making minions more potent on the Necromancer when you build into them would be really cool. Imagine actually having a Minion Master PvE build that's really viable for endgame content. And that's what this Ascension idea would allow us to do. So basically, we ascend some of the core specs, and they become more powerful, and they either give you a new weapon or profession mechanic. Obviously not both of them, but one of them. And that's just kind of what it does, man. It's a really cool idea. You could have a skin when the weapon comes out or whatever, before like they usually do, and maybe even an armor piece, no matter what, who knows. But this would essentially allow us to get these sandbox changing sort of items, right? And not be as lame as just, here's a new weapon. For me, if like, in terms of like weapons that we already have in the game, I think if they gave us, as Wooden Potatoes mentioned in his video, a scythe would be fucking sweet. I mean, I would love to wield a scythe on the Necromancer, man. Imagine if we got some sort of new, I don't know, imagine playing on Reaper with a scythe. You know, that's like in your like using it outside of Death Shroud. You know, and the staff doesn't count, man. I know the staff has like some of those skins, but at least on the Necromancer, that does not count as a scythe. You know, and even on like Daredevil, where you use it as a melee, it's still. I mean, that doesn't feel like a scythe, man. When I think of like a scythe in MMOs, I immediately my mind draws to Final Fantasy XIV with the Reaper class, because that really feels like I'm using a fucking scythe. Honestly, I feel like that just does a phenomenal job in that game of that sort of thing. So I would love to see that. But personally, for me, I think this Ascension idea he has is great. So yeah, you send the sort of core specs, you make them more powerful. Whether it would still be using one of the core trait slots or be using the elite slot, I really have no idea. I don't know. I would think that it wouldn't use one of the core slots, right? Because that would just power creep the all living shit out of the game, and it would basically make it so for the Ascension part of it, right, where you get some new traits, some new really, really good traits, which is kind of the point of it, right? Some of the traits and shit, and you get that, and it's like, it can't be really that powerful because it's going to power creep the game even further if you do. Or if we were to do the elite spec slot and put it in there, we can make the new traits on it, the new 3 traits or how many ever they would do, actually really good and really, really powerful, which is cool because, that's kind of the issue though, is elite specs have really power creeped the game in a lot of ways from what I know. I just started playing the game like 3 years ago, but as far as I know, they power creeped the game quite a bit from what I've seen. And if we were to go down that route, I don't really entirely know. Because I don't know if they would really want to make them as competitive, like, and as good as the elite specs. I mean, I would think they probably would. I don't know, that's kind of a weird thing to think about, but I do think it would be a better thing to put them in the elite spec slot. I wrote down a few ideas here that I thought would be really, really cool. So we could see Beast Mastery on the Ranger. Of course I was going to mention this. This is the reason why I was so worried about no elite specs moving forward, okay? If I wasn't a Ranger main, I probably wouldn't care as much. And the reason why that is because we have yet to see a proper, like, pet-based elite specialization for the Ranger, or any playstyle really that's pet-based, that's actually viable. It just is it's really sucked that we haven't seen that. I mean, I love Untamed, I love the playstyle of it, but I really, really want to see a pet-based sort of style. I would love to see that personally. And so yeah, so some of the ideas here, Beastmaster, right? We make it sort of enhance the pet a bit, perhaps even with some sort of trade-off with your stats or some shit like that. But I don't know, something like that where it enhances the pet's, stats, and it makes them, make it so they cleave on their auto attacks, all the pets. I think that'd be cool. Death Magic, we can make this more into a minion master. I think Wooden Potatoes had a different sort of idea, but personally, when I think of Death Magic, I would want it to become a minion master kind of elite spec. An Ascension thing, but I don't know, it's elite spec basically, right? Without all the fluff to it. But yeah, minion master sort of thing where you really lean into that playstyle more, and it becomes a viable option. Pyromancer on the fire is something Wooden Potatoes mentioned, and personally, I would take it a step further than what he said. I would make it so you could literally only use fire, and also it would enhance the defensive aspects of the Elementalist, right? Because you're losing access to water, you're losing access to the CC skills you have on the other stuff, and the defensive skills on Earth. CC on air. What am I saying? But I think it would be really cool if they leaned just into fire attunement and possibly have water in there. I don't know. I'd rather just lean into fire and that's it. And the reason why that is because Elementalist has been notorious as being kind of a sort of bloated spec. Okay, there's a lot of skills on this spec that is fucking insane on this class in general. So for people like me, it kind of feels like that we're putting in more effort when playing Elementalist for the exact same reward, if not a little bit better, right? Like, if I were to go on Snowcrows right now, I guarantee you the top build is not going to be an Elementalist. It almost never is, honestly. Let me see. Snowcrows, fuck it. Let's see right now, boys. Let's see. Yeah, no. Wait, what? Power Deadeye? What the fuck? All right, well, Power Catalyst is number 3, but still, though, number 3? Like, that's kind of crazy. That complicated of a playstyle with Elementalist would not be higher. But yeah, still, like Elementalist, it feels like you're putting in a lot more effort than the other classes, and you're getting less of a reward, which really, really blows. You're I don't know, it sucks. You would think higher skill requirement, a higher skill ceiling would relate to giving you more damage, right? Having your performance be higher. But in this game, it's just weird, man. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's really odd. So I would love to see something that just makes it a lot more simple, a lot more approachable. I think that'd be really, really cool. And yeah. And as far as leveling goes, man, leveling with Elementalist, people say it's hard. It's really not. To be honest with you, it's not really that much of a pain. At least nowadays. I mean, you level up so goddamn quick. You get, you know, laid with gear. It's crazy. So I don't really think it's as much of a problem as it used to be. You know, inventions, we can make it like a proper engineer, right? Like we're really focusing hard on like turrets and shit like that. I don't know if kits are related to inventions, but you know, we can do that too. Yeah, I'd love to see that personally. You know, there's some other ideas they came up with, like just adding like elite skills and just adding just random skills. Like fuck it, let's just add skills to some of the classes like they did. They've done that before. But I think that Ascension idea that he came up with was actually a really good idea, and I'd love to see it going forward. And so yeah, that's the video, guys. I just wanted to sort of talk about his idea and sort of just kind of spread it around a bit more if people haven't already seen it, or people haven't watched this video in general. I don't know. But I think it's a really cool idea. Go check him out, man. He's a much better fucking Guild Wars YouTuber than I am, and I'd honestly say the majority of people. Like, he's really knows his shit. He's been around for so long at this point. And I fucking love his videos, man. I was watching when he was doing End of Dragons daily, you know, for like over a year leading up to End of Dragons release. I watched damn near every single one of them. That was part of like my routine. Is I would eat dinner and then watch the new End of Dragons daily video, right? And you know, it wasn't always daily despite the title, but it was still, you know, obviously you're not gonna do it daily for that long, you know. I mean, how much ideas can you really have, you know? But still, it's kind of crazy to see that. I also made a video talking about you know, the possibility of the expansion coming out this year and why I actually think it probably will in like Q4. So that's kind of another video, as you know, it wouldn't be much of a shorter expansion, a shorter release date if it came out early next year, because that would basically be 2 years after EOD's release, right? It'd be kind of stupid. So yeah, that's gonna cover it. Peace.
Hello, my children. My name is Morgan Freeman. Subscribe to Be Off Gamer. He's got a massive cock. Yeah.